Yo, 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 what's up, folks? Welcome to the corner, Mark's Corner. Come on in, come on in. We got breaking news as we're coming on the air today. Happy Tuesday. Hope everything is fine and dandy on your end. On this end and around the world, around the nation, breaking news. The jury finds Ryan Ruth guilty on all counts of the assassination attempt on President Trump. Did anybody figure anything less than this? Interesting. Didn't fire a shot. He was lurking in the bushes at Mar-a-Lago, or one of Trump's resorts, from what I can remember. And he they found arms and weaponry and stuff on him, as the story goes, and we're just now getting the breaking news in. So soak that in for a minute. Tell me what you think about that. There's other stuff to talk about too, but just wanted to let you know, starting off on the corner, Ryan Ruth found guilty on all counts. As a matter of fact, I believe it's 4 counts on the assassination of Trump. So we'll can dig into the weeds a little bit on that. If you like, chime in, tell me what your thoughts and opinions are on that. Other than that, Jimmy's back. Yes. Jimmy Kimmel is back. He'll be back on tonight, folks. Powers that be have an enormous defeat on that. Trump is very pissed at that. I'm not sure exactly what broke, but from what I'm hearing, the network exec gathered with Kimmel and discussed his return. I think they're negotiating because he was threatening to sue, or in the process of suing the network, either ABC, Disney, or let me see, I forgot the other one. But Jimmy is coming back tonight. Now, the thing about tonight is, depending on which outlet you're watching Jimmy on, that's how you're going to see him. Next Star, I believe the Next Star outlets won't be seeing him. I'm not sure about the Disney outlet, but I'm pretty sure they will, since Disney lost over $3 billion, somewhere around $3.8 billion from people protesting, either freezing their accounts or totally deleting their accounts. What say you? What do you think? I was talking about this last week, and I thought Jimmy would be back before the holidays. As a matter of fact, I kind of stretched it a little bit and said Jimmy would be back within about a week or so, maybe 3 weeks. I would say just in time for Halloween. A little sooner than I expected, but I'm not surprised. What do you say? We can talk about that or whatever on your mind today at the corner. But the big news of the day is Jimmy Kimmel is going to be back on the air tonight at his usual time slot. Will you watch it? Will you watch Jimmy's return? Will you be able to watch it? Are you on Disney Plus? I believe Disney Plus is going to put him back on tonight, since they are at the forefront of the boycott. Them losing over $3 billion. I told y'all last week, money talks. I said Jimmy will be back if the protest reaches a certain fever point, and voila, he's back. So we can get into the weeds on that. What do you think? How does it go from here? And will we pick up the pace on discussion on the other comedians? Freedom of speech. Trump's going after Jimmy Fallon, but Stephen Colbert. Now, Stephen Colbert is back. He's still off. He's still gone. So, will this momentum switch over to Stephen Colbert? Will he come back on the scene? Will it push CBS and the companies that own CBS? What say you? Come on in. Let's talk about this. there's other stuff going on here. Did you hear about Trump's rant during the UN today? Mm-mm-mm. If you haven't heard, the elevator, or no, let's say the escalator at the UN stopped on Trump and Melania. As soon as Trump and Melania stepped onto the escalator to take them up to the next level at the UN, where Trump would be speaking shortly, the elevator stopped or it paused. Okay. Not only that, well, let's go back. Trump froze, but Melania kept on stepping. Both of them froze for a minute. They looked to their right, and then Ladia started stepping on up, started walking up the stairs. Well, baby, we got to use the stairs. We got to use these stairs. You know, you didn't forget how to use the stairs, and Melania took off way ahead of DT. So, soon as Trump got on the main floor of the UN, his teleprompter went out. It wasn't working. Now, is both of these little incidents by design, or is it just plain, simple, innocent accidents or flaws or, mistakes? Who knows? But DT couldn't handle it. Once he got on the mic, he explained what's going on, his little, baby rant and everything. He went off. He started talking about the escalator going off and the fact that his teleprompter is not working. And he was pretty much, if you've seen the video, you got to check the video out. He was at a loss for words. So he kept coming back to that, the escalator and the prompter not working, and he said somebody's in big trouble. So what say you? Was it by design? Was it on purpose? Was it totally an accident? Was it a malfunction on both ends? I'm not sure. We can get into the weeds on that on the corner here. The escalator's one thing, but the teleprompter's another thing. Two variables that went down? I don't know. What say you? I'm thinking that the UN, and of course everybody representing the UN, United Nations, of course, all of the other parties at hand are laughing at Trump and the USA behind his back, especially the leaders of the free world, the independent and progressive ones. They're all laughing at him behind his back. I believe some people at the UN may have DT on their radar, and they're pretty pissed at him. What say you? Welcome, Bill Martin. Bill Morcom, our moderator's in the house. How's it going, man? Bill says Trump blames all of the European countries in India and China for buying gas from Russia. Yes, bro. I believe you're right. And if we dig into the weeds a little bit more, yeah, we could pull out some more stuff. Yeah, it's a wonder that everything that's happening right now that's going on. I'm amazed that Trump has the gall to show up at the United Nations and other functions and stuff, because what's going on is the mainstream media that's covering these events, they are, let's say, dubbing in applause and cheers for Trump, when in fact the majority of the crowds are booing him. So what do? They etch that out and they use overdubs. It's been said that they've been using some overdubs. The people there in person says, boo, he's been booing. If you watch some of the reviews or watch some of the videos on outlets like Twitter and X and Blue Sky, you may be able to catch a clip where at these different events where DT is getting booed. So what do you think? There's a lot to go over here. Sometimes there's just so much happening, so much to discuss, that we can't cover it all in one segment, but we try and go and a little bit into the weeds. I set the topics out there for you to follow, but of course you're free to get out there and give us your opinion on whatever you like. It doesn't have to be political. It could be social issues. It could be religious issues. But we try and cover it all for everybody out there. And if you're one that wants your voice heard, please call our number 401 7781 708 401 7781. That's the line that puts you on the air live. Okay, as long as it's respectful, decent, and everything, call that number. And if you want your voice heard, leave us a message and we will play it on the air. Okay, remember that number. You can see it at the bottom of the screen. You're watching the UN, but let me put this back up here. There we go. There is your number, 708-401-7781. Give it a call. You can leave a text also. Tell us what's on your mind. Lay it down. Let it all hang out. This is the safest corner of America. So what's going on? What's up, Bill? Bill says yes. He called out everyone, but stated that he stopped the wars. You know, Bill, we talked about that. I believe I mentioned that briefly last week, and I think a couple of weeks ago that he keeps claiming that he stopped these wars, and I challenge anybody to tell me one war that this sucker stopped. I can't think of one. He has not stopped not one damn war. Okay? But of course, he has his right-wing media there that's backing him up. They're not fact-checking him. They're not calling him out. They're live because they don't want to be removed. They don't want to be removed from the press corps and Air Force One and at other meetings. Bill says Trump was cover how when he was blaming China for funding a future attack on themselves. By purchasing, what does this say, Bill? By purchasing oil from Russia. The shot charged to a very pissed off China. Well, you know what? That's another thing that we can get into on the corner right now, because China's making moves. They're the talk about that the powers that be in the other nations are setting up for World War III. It all depends on who makes the first move. China has their stuff in position. They're ready to take on Taiwan. Netanyahu's got his stuff in position, ready to finish off Gaza and some other, let me see, I forgot the name of those countries, but I believe you get the idea. He's ready over there to set off his attacks. Trump has in position shipped off of the shores of Venezuela. So who knows? What do you think? It all depends on who makes the next move. A lot of the experts, including myself, says it will be a domino effect on this, which will escalate into a world war, none other than World War III. What say you? Everybody's in place there, and the only time we see this happening is when a major war breaks out, that all the nations and countries involved gets their troops, their equipment, and everything in place. Okay, North Korea, they're on standby as well, if you're keeping an eye on that. We're so busy watching Trump and the recent activities that's been going on over here, especially the distractions, including the Charlie Kirk funeral and, well, what they call the funeral. We can get into that if you want to express your opinions about the Charlie Kirk escapade that went down Sunday. But just a few talking points. Disney stock is down. That's probably what, when your stock goes down, the big corporation starts making their move. Disney stock is down. They lost over $3.8 billion. So that's probably was the tipping point in getting my man Jimmy Kimmel, back on the air. What say you? Okay, there are, I want to get deep into the woods on that too, but there's other things that we got to mention. Also, another mass shooting happened. Another mass shooting happened. I believe this time it was in Minnesota or something like that. Several people shot, and that raises the question. I want to bring this question to the table here right now. Okay, violence is also on the rise. So, is it really the guns or our violent culture? Okay. I say this because in Japan and other countries where guns are illegal, murders are generally by knife, sword, or poison. Okay. So we do, in here America, we have been, let's say, groomed on a violent culture ever since Europeans first invaded this country, way, way back in the days, if you know what I mean. So if we remove all the guns, people, will people find other ways of killing because of this violent culture? I.e., like, let's say, by knife attacks, just like in Japan, China, a few other countries. No guns there, but the average murder is by knife. So will knife attacks arise here? What do you say? Put it out there. And also beating with pipes and bats. We got plenty of pipe wearing bats here, baseball bats, clubs, and everything. Every now and then you do hear of a murder or an attack using a pipe or a bat or some blunt type object. So will that rise up? Will that take the place of the guns, even if we remove all the guns in our society, just like the other countries? Or will people resort to using homemade guns, like the ones you can build by buying the parts online? And some are known as zip guns. That's a terminology that came to fruition back in like the mid 80s, late 80s. Zip guns. Interesting. And I'm I'm not totally anti-gun, but we could if we got rid of all the guns, we still live in a very violent culture. I mean, there is like a million domestic incidences that happens every day, y'all. And it could be that if you do remove all of these weaponry, people are going to find a way to kill somebody. Doesn't necessarily mean guns. They're going to find, if you remove them all, they're going to find the next most available way to kill somebody. Bill says the guy even attacked the construction on the United Nations because he's pissed that he didn't get his way, get pissed that he didn't get the contract. Oh, yeah, I remember that, Bill. Yeah, so right. And Bill also says that Trump wanted time, comparing marble with terrazzo flooring. Did you see, Bill, that and everybody else out there watching and listening? Did you see how Trump transformed the garden, the beautiful White House lawn garden, into a patio deck, tiled a patio deck, so that he doesn't have trouble walking around? And he put all those, I believe, golden tables and umbrellas out there, just like at Mar-a-Lago, his resorts, duplicating those. He put those out there. And I'm going to give you the bottom line on why this went down. Trump has a problem walking on grass. His ankles are swelled up, and we know why. Okay, it's called cardiac heart failure. I forgot the exact terminology, but I'm not sure how many of y'all have seen his ankles swelling up. I can show you pictures. Maybe I'll put those on later on tonight. No, not tonight, because that's the chill time. I'll put those on the corner, the next corner, which will probably be either Wednesday or Friday. We might do another version. But the experts and the doctors are saying all of this, that we are witnessing a man in serious health decline issues. He's dying right before our eyes. He has to walk on solid ground. He keeps covering up his hands, putting the makeup on his hands. His face, if you take a good look at his face, especially a good digital photograph of him, where he doesn't have as much makeup on his face. It's horrendous. It's full of craters. Those craters are due to the drug use that Trump has been involved with over the years. I don't know when exactly he started, but we're estimating right around when he hit his late teens or early 20s. You know, not just the Adderall, but cocaine and the alcoholism and drinking pop. Those are also acid bump craters that you see on his skin. And because of his diet, totally eating fried chicken and burgers and Diet Coke, plus his age, well, what do you expect? What do you expect? His right foot has been dragging lately. We caught videos of that lately, and I got a hell of a picture to show you. When I show you this picture, folks, of Trump trying to climb the stairs of, I think it's Air Force One or whatever plane he was getting on, you can plainly see that the man is in bad shape. And some predict, and I kind of agree, that we may see him collapse on camera one of these days. Bill says, "What about his ear? I don't know about how the cartilage hears, but he shouldn't have had a missing piece." Yes, that's another one we can get into, Bill. This was a totally staged event. I'm not a gun expert, but every expert I've spoken to and heard and read about and heard the videos mentioned saying that the high-powered weaponry that they used to kill that person standing behind Trump, it was not an amateur. That was a marksman. And if any part of his ear got touched by that bullet, it would not be there. Okay? Trump was part of the Wrestling Federation, and if you noticed when he grabbed his ear, that is a simple move that a wrestler makes when they want to appear like they've been cut. Okay, there is a little tablet, a little packet that they smack their face with, or smack it upside their head or whatever, to make blood appear. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I know some are saying that the bullet hit the teleprompter that exploded, and the fragment of the teleprompter is what hit his ear. But rewind the tape, y'all. Rewind that tape and look at that teleprompter. That teleprompter did not explode. No, it didn't. Okay? Even if it did, the angle at the way the bullet traveled and hit his ear, it's very doubtful that a piece of that teleprompter would have clipped him at that angle and clipped that ear. Okay? Sometimes, yeah, I know, Bill, sometimes they use razor blades on the hairline in professional wrestling. Now, I'm not sure if he used a blade or not. You know, it could have been a razor blade, and it could have been that little packet that they used to smack upside your head, and he used that upside his ear. It may have been a razor blade, maybe, but the way his ear healed, I mean, there's close-up photography that's been, blown up of his ear the day after, or right when he put that little tampon on his ear. Didn't see any mark of a wound. Not one? Not a one. Bill says they use the term gigging. Is that what's up, Bill? They use the term gigging? I didn't know that. Thanks for that little tidbit of information. They use the term gigging. So, what say you guys? Want some other people to jump in the chat? What do you think about this and the other issues that's going on in the world? Welcome to the corner. Welcome to the corner. Algorithms. Let's get into that deep. Okay, we can go to the algorithm side of the conversation. We can go to the fairness doctrine. That's why our media has turned against us, because of the fairness doctrine and the Telecommunications Act, y'all. Some of y'all might not be old enough to remember this, but this went down with the Reagan administration, okay, when they voted against the fairness doctrine, which made the billionaires and high-tech companies started buying out all of the consumer media outlets and taken over the narrative to control exactly what you think, what you believe in, covering up independent media. This channel, my outlet, is independent media. That's why it is so important to support independent media, folks. Okay? Independent media, and we're not the only ones. You got some on radio. Clear Channel is part of the establishment too. They bought up 90% of the radio stations around the country, and that's why you hear mostly right wing radio based outlets on the dial. There used to be like television and radio combined. There used to be about 62 competitors. Now there are only roughly 30 or under. I don't know the exact figures right now. It might be changing because Big Brother is and the billionaires, they're constantly buying up these stations. But the last count was around 30, 32, if I remember. So that brings us to the algorithms on social media. This is why I'm not really much of a TikTok fan, because of the algorithms, and on Facebook and some of these other outlets like Twitter, which is now X. That's why here we go. That's why Elon bought out Twitter, to control those algorithms. Folks, don't let them fool you. If you control the algorithm, you control how America thinks. I'm going to put a pin on that. Okay? Anybody want to elaborate on that? Come on in, come on in. It's all welcome here. This is the safest corner in America. We're following breaking news. I got the UN meeting right up here. It's too late. We didn't miss Trump speaking earlier. I mean, he just basically embarrassed himself, but we are keeping an eye on the meeting. Trump got up there, and all he could do, he was at a loss for words, folks, because he didn't have his trusty teleprompter. So he had to ad lib, which is usually not the normal, but sometimes when you know Trump is ad libbing, you can tell when he's ad libbing or when he's using a script or the teleprompter, especially in his tweets from Truth Social. So he got up there and actually he paused, when he explained about the teleprompter. He paused for a few seconds. He sat there and stared around, loss of words, and he cracked a little smirk, and then he went back to the escalator incident. That's what he does. He's blaming everything but himself. He went back to that escalator incident, and then he blamed whoever for the teleprompter escapade. So what do you think, folks? It is 2:30 Chicago time. Lots to go over, lots to get into the weeds, folks. You tell me what's on your mind, we'll get into the weeds about it. There's so much to cover. Jury finds Ryan Roof guilty on all 4 counts on the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Mass shootings are reaching a peak. I believe there was one in Minnesota this morning, this morning, because we're just now early in the afternoon. But mass shootings and violence, on the rise. So is it really the guns or the violent culture that we live in? I mentioned earlier, if we remove all the guns, how will people resort to harming or killing other people? We already see the examples because of our culture. If you do remove all the guns, people are going to resort to whatever as that is available. And the next big available items here in the United States, folks, are strategic hand combat weapons like knives, machetes, and stuff. Speaking of machetes, yes, those incidents with machetes have been on the rise over the past year also. Machetes, right. You can get a machete anywhere almost right now. They're almost as available to the public as guns. So will people resort to machetes, knives, switchblades? Will they start making their guns? Will the zip guns from the 80s come back? We have versions of them online already where you can buy their parts online and build your guns yourself at the home. You just got to take the time to order the parts, piece by piece. So, what say you guys? We're watching the United Nations conference right now, and I'm watching some other monitors. Okay, Brian Youth attempted assassination on a presidential candidate. Well, that's count one. Count two, possessing a firearm. Count three, assaulting a federal officer. Count four, felon in possession of a firearm and ammunition. And count five, possession of a firearm with obliterated so and so and so and so. So what do you think? What do you think? Bill says he busted Obama hard for using a teleprompter. I thought about that earlier, Bill. I did think about that. You know, he got on Obama, and guess what? When you think about it, whenever Trump points the finger at somebody for whatever, he's actually pointing a finger back at himself. He's actually the one guilty of whatever he's charging whoever for in whatever case. Remember, folks, if you're a constant liar and blamer and don't want to point the finger at yourself, when you point the finger, when you point your finger, your main finger at somebody, you always have three fingers pointing back at yourself. So, ironically, Bill, yeah, man, I thought about that this morning too. Trump blaming the teleprompter guy or whatever, or using the teleprompter, but he blamed Obama. He blamed a couple other people about using a teleprompter too. It's not just Obama, but yeah, of course, Barack was the main target, and he definitely relies on that teleprompter a lot. And if he goes ad lib, then you really see what's on his mind then, okay? Especially in his tweets from social media, um, through social and stuff. You know, you can tell when he wrote that tweet, and you can tell when his aide or whoever wrote that tweet. So, what say you? Waiting for other people to come into the chat. I see some of you tuning in, stopping by. Welcome, welcome in. We're watching the United Nations meeting. If you want to hear that, or you want to request that, I can pop up the volume so you can hear the speakers. Here's Turkey up here speaking right now. I mean, so let me know. We're on it, folks. We're on it. Trump and Zelensky meet at the UN. That's another breaking news. Trump and Zelensky meeting at the UN. Putin's on standby too. He's ready to take over the rest of Ukraine. What do you think about that? Who is or who will make the first move? Okay? One of these four powers that makes the first move, it will trigger, and very well could trigger, the domino effect that will launch World War III. So who will it be? Will it be Putin? Will it be Little Kim? Will it be DT? Interesting. Let's see, who else is in play? Well, there's about three or four others out there, but I named the main three or four. They're out there. What do you think? Who will be the first? Who will be the first? China to hit Taiwan? Actually, I don't think China will make the first move. I think they're waiting for. I think they're waiting for Netanyahu to make that first move, and then China or DT will go, okay, since he did that, we're going to take Venezuela. And China will say, okay, since Trump's taken Venezuela, we're going to take Taiwan, and so on and so on and so on. The domino effect will roll, no doubt. So, what say you? Come on into the chat. Come on into the chat. We got Bill going on in the chat. Bill says they just visited me for a minute, so I had to pop out for a minute. No problem, man. No problem. We know how it goes. Yeah, folks, we was unable to do the LinkedIn hour yesterday because we had to attend the services of Bill Morton Sr., which was this was it was a moving event. It was touching. It was moving. It was enlightening. I saw tons of pictures of senior from literally almost childhood to present day. It was very impressive. But what really captivated me was the fact that not only did I not know that he was in the service, but this was the first service I've been at where there was actually a, a military representation honoring an individual, a deceased individual. Um, they first folded the flag up, and I noticed there was two of them there, folks, two military personnel, and they folded the flag in military style fashion, and they gave the flag to senior's mom, and then they proceeded with taps, and that's what kind of moved me when that went down. So it was an interesting day. I spent the day with the family and everything. Had a great time. I met some people that I haven't seen in years, and how services go. I'm not really a funeral type person. I like to celebrate so much lives in cheerful. There's been one service that I went to that wasn't really melancholy. The family wanted the person who was a jazz musician, they wanted it to be an upbeat celebration of his life. So instead of it being religious and all like that, and a lot of speakers, we actually had a jazz. I streamed that live actually too. I streamed that live, and people tune in. This was years ago, and it was the service for our RK and actually RT, excuse me. And he was the father of a good friend of mine, Donna Miller, and we had a jazz band there playing all night. Wow, jazz band, and playing some upbeat, glorifying jazz music. I'm surprised nobody got up and danced, but the jazz band was playing right there. There was he was up in the front, I believe, in in his coffin and everything. But it was more of an upbeat celebration on the person's life. The jazz band was actually his bandmates that played with RT, and he was the vice president of a company here in Chicago. I believe it was an insurance company here. So it was upbeat. It was the first service I've been to where it was more celebratory of his life, and it was upbeat. It wasn't a lot of crying going on there. I didn't really see any teary eyes in the house at all. So I just wanted to put that by you. Those are the kind of services I like to attend also. And so yesterday was the first service I attended in quite a few years. So it was great, and had a decent Passover. They call it a repast, where you sit down and gather tables and have a nice meal together and discuss everything going on in your lives and everything. But anyway, moving on. Hats off to Bill Morton Sr. He was also a cook in Vietnam that Bill mentioned just now on the line. So, wow, cook too. He had quite a life. So back to current events. What do you think, folks? It is 2:41 on the corner. We got roughly 15 minutes or so left at the corner. We're watching the speakers in the United Nations. Do you want me to pot up the volume on the United Nations, or just, we can continue with the commentary here on me? I want to shut up for a minute and pop this. You know what? I'm curious as to what's going on there, or what. Here's Egypt. So let's hear what Egypt's saying.
All under one authority, one government, one law, and one weapon. Mr. President,
Translation
of the Council, it has been certain to all that the security arrangements on the ground and ending the current catastrophic situation in Gaza as well as reconstruction are inevitable and necessary steps.
That's another thing. The genocide in Gaza. Okay, let's get back.
Is a political horizon towards a comprehensive and just settlement of the Palestinian cause based on the two-state solution. It has to also include the establishment of the Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital along the lines of the 4th of June 1967. This must be accompanied by genuine international will that supports peace and stability in the Middle East.
Okay, so folks, they just raised another point. Do you believe in a two-state solution in Gaza and the Palestinians? Okay, what you think? Come on into the chat. There's more watching, more viewing. I see. Excuse me. Don't be afraid to type in your thoughts and opinions in the chat. It doesn't have to be about politics per se or Gaza or Trump or whatever. If you want to talk about social issues, relationships, businesses, whatever's on your mind, come on in. Let us know what you think. Let us know what's on your mind. You want to get something off your chest, this is the time to do so, folks. During the time of day when we take care of the business, and then afterwards, at the end of the day, we hang up our business hats and we put on our party hats and watch the world go by, monitoring everything. So, what say you? Bill says war is one of the biggest industries. That's called, Bill, the military-industrial complex, and every president has used that to either keep themselves in office or fortify the industrial complex. In terms of Gaza and let me see, Russia and Putin, the United States already has given Netanyahu military equipment, has given Putin and helped them out, and there's a couple of other countries too, military equipment. Most of this equipment is older equipment back from, I would say, is going back as far as the 70s or something. You know, older tanks, especially in Russia. So, you know, you're clearing your inventory, your old inventory, to build new inventory. That's the move. That's the move. And of course, the billionaires that own Lockheed and other military equipment facilities is benefiting from that. So yes, we are dealing with the military industrial complex, folks. That's what you see going on here. Okay, what say you? Does anybody else out there know about the military industrial complex? We got two. We got the prison industrial complex and we got the military industrial complex. And both of them are fueled by the people that own these businesses and corporations and the owners of the prison system and everything, and so on and so on and so on. And I can go a little bit deeper into that, but you got the basis of that. If you want to elaborate on that, feel free to come in, say what's on your mind, get it out, get it on the table, because we want people to put their frustrations or whatever out on the table so that they don't go outside and start busting up some windows. What say you? Bill says, I believe that we have our F-15s to Ukraine to make room for the F-35s. Quite possibly, Bill. Quite possibly. We do know that they and see, that's what's out there circulating right now. The F-15s, they're going around, and it's quite possible that that's what's going on. So that's why a lot of people believe that it's either going to be Trump, United States, or Putin, or Netanyahu, the top three that will kick off the domino effect that will eventually evolve into a World War III situation. Now, I got my thoughts and opinions about that, and I want to lay that on the table right now, and I want some response from people out there in the chat that did I pop that down? Do you want to hear some more audio from the UN? But let me continue my thought. We are in an undeclared version of World War 3. The reason I say this is because of the Netanyahu situation in Gaza and everything. The United States, when Netanyahu, when the Houthis bombed or attempted to tear up Tel Aviv and other parts, well, Netanyahu has what they call an iron dome, which they claim is an impenetrable, kind of like a dome that knocks out any incoming missiles. Okay? Now, if the Iron Dome is that sufficient, why would the United States, France, Italy, and a couple of other countries join in the defense system of the Iron Dome? When the Houthis launched those missiles, folks, back about 3 months ago or so, 4 months ago, it was well before the summer, the United States had their ships off of that shoreline also, and they were intercepting a lot of those missiles coming out of Iran. Okay? A lot. So, if this Iron Dome is so efficient, why would the United States and these other countries participate in the defense with the Iron Dome? Okay? So, if all of these countries are involved, technically, that is a world war. You're talking about countries from all over the world participating. If they're participating and troops, we have used, I don't know how many troops that were involved in these operations, but they're out there and the ships are out there. So that's if you're participating in this, it is, and along with the other countries I mentioned, that is an undeclarated version of a world war. It will take one of the main powers through Congress to declare a world war. Right now, we are in the midst of an undeclared world war. That's why you see the media not harping on this, okay? Because our troops are still in place. Our troops, our ships are still out there on the coastline defending Tel Aviv, Israel. Okay, they're out there and they're planning another, and we got them set up off the coastline of Venezuela. You've been watching the videos of them blowing up them boats, them boats of innocent people doing their routine boat runs right off the coast of Venezuela. And we're still defending Tel Aviv, Israel, and all of Israel with a so-called Iron Dome that is supposed to be so efficient that they don't need anybody's help, yet other countries have been involved in that. So I'm putting it out there. Tell me what you think. You agree or disagree that this is an undeclarated version of a world war. Anytime you have 3 or more countries participating in combat fire on top of that, that's a world war. Okay? You don't have to wait for Big Brother to tell you that it is. If you think about it, you can figure things out yourself. So, what say you, peeps? 2:50 p.m. Chicago time. Again, 708-401-7781 is the number for you to chime in, to voice your opinions so it could be played back here live on the air, or a text message. What say you? We're watching the meetings in the United Nations. I'm going to pipe this audio up so you can see what's going on there.
International deterrent measures of accountability against this Israeli behavior to maintain regional and international peace and security and ensure the credibility of this international regime and its legitimacy. The serious and immediate international move is a necessity that cannot be delayed. We have to put an end to this aggression and this siege. We have to pave the way for comprehensive and just peace. This will come through the implementation of the two-state solution and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state along the lines of 1967 with East Jerusalem as its capital. Thank you, Mr. President. Peace and blessings of God be upon you.
there you go. I forgot to mention the Saudis. Okay, that's another key player in this, folks. Don't let anybody tell you anything otherwise. The Saudis is another key player, and they've also invested heavily into the Trump regime, the United States. They gave Trump that, I believe, that plane, but a few years ago they gave Jared Kushner and company, what was it, $3 billion. So they're another key player in this. The Saudis. What is about to jump off, y'all? What's going on? We have all these distractions going on here. The Charlie Kirk scene. That's something that we can talk about too. If you want to talk about the what we call the the Klan rally jamboree that took place Sunday, go on and give it a shot. Tell us what you think about that. I watched it. I had to watch it so that I could tell you exactly what was going on, the premise, what was said, and everything. And yeah, I don't know. I it was a show. I knew it was going to be a clown show. So, what you think? Bill says have been to the Middle East, Dubai, Oman, Bahrain, UAE, etc. Yeah, that's right, Bill. You were in the military as well. So, what did you think about that? What is your viewpoint of that, being in the Middle East at that time? What was your experience? We'd like to know, man. You can put it out there if you like. But the Saudis is another major player. I do believe that the Saudis will wait to make their move after Netanyahu makes his move. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? We're taking a pause, I believe, from the United Nations. So, peeps, come on in, chime in, tell me what you think. I've laid everything out there on the table. If you got anything that what you want to get off your chest or discuss, hey, we're right here to listen to you, participate. Is always welcome at the corner. That's where we are, hanging out on the corner. I'm going to be hanging on the corner for another few minutes, folks, before I go back and do my thing, get other parts of the studio together, and get ready just in case we do another live this evening or another emergency breaking news. The situation here in Berwyn with the ice, that's still going on. You can touch basis on that with that. The Jimmy Kimmel situation, that's going on too. He will be back on tonight. For those of you that are lucky enough to see him, he won't be seen in all the markets. So it depends on what outlet that you're going to be watching Jimmy on. I'm going to tune in. Are you going to tune in? That's another question I want to put out on the table. I'm definitely going to tune in because you know he's going to have some serious remarks to say about this. So will you tune in? Will you check it out? Hopefully that you will be in, that you have a market or streaming outlet that will show Jimmy, because all of the markets won't be there. They will not show it. So what say you? And I want to find out which ones. I'm trying to find a list of the markets, but anybody that's on, let me see, was it TriStar? I believe that's one. I believe you won't be able to watch it there. And I just think that it might take a little while for the other markets to kick in. Or ABC. Some of those markets, people that have ABC may not be able to watch Jimmy, but let's make one specific point. Notation. It's still early in the afternoon. This is the afternoon, folks. Okay? They got several hours to make their decision still to chime in. So between now, 2:30 Central Time, and the time that Jimmy comes on, well, you never know. ABC might kick him back in. And the other markets might kick him back in. I think they're all going to fall into place eventually. By, let's say, next week, he will be back on all of those markets. Okay. Channel 7 ABT Chicago is advertising it on their commercials, Bill says. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the show tonight. I don't know about you guys, but and I loved the monologues of Jimmy Kimmel. Now, a lot of people do say and agree that Jimmy Kimmel, out of all of the comedians on late night comedy, is the most beloved comedian. We did come together. I told you if we stand together and fight together, we can make some changes happen. So he is supposedly the most beloved one. But would it, now that he has in a sense won, will we direct our energy to the other comedians? Because the attack remains there. It's not over yet, folks. Not by a long shot. Not by a long shot. It's not over. So, are we going to focus on Stephen Colbert now? Are we going to get Steve back on? Okay, he could be the next to fall. Or will Trump continue his attack on the other comedians? He's even trying to knock out The View right now. So, what direction do you think this is going to go? It looks like the stream on the UN is popping in and out. It's back up again. So it is popping in and out. That's a refresh stream they're back on. So, and Bill says John Stewart too. Yep, that too. So we shall see. We shall see, folks, what's going on here. Okay, I'll tell you what. I will pipe this up so you can see this. In our closing minutes of the show, it's 2:59 p.m. We're in the last minutes of the corner. As we close out, I'm going to pipe this up to see if we get any interesting details, any interesting news.
That tolerating them is a weakness. What must prioritize the discussion in the international community now is how to restore collective security as per the UN Charter and how to restore the legitimacy of the international system. Your Excellencies, as you know, Doha on the 9th of September has suffered a treacherous attack that targeted the negotiating delegation of Hamas in a residential neighborhood that includes schools and diplomatic missions. As a result of this attack, 6 martyrs have fallen, including a Qatari national who serves in the internal security forces, and 18 people have been injured. This aggression was a violation against our sovereignty and a blatant violation that is unjustified of international law. But the whole world was shocked because of the circumstances of this heinous act, which we have classified as state terrorism. Unlike the claim of the Prime Minister of Israel, this attack is not a legitimate right to follow perpetrators of terrorism. It is an act of a diplomacy that is dedicated to political assassinations. And it undermines any diplomatic efforts aimed at ending the genocide against the people in Gaza. It is also an attempt to kill politicians who are members of a delegation that engages in negotiations with Israel while they were studying an American proposal. As you know, Qatar hosts, as a mediator during the negotiations, hosts delegations of Hamas and Israel. Qatari mediation has, in fact, achieved, in cooperation with Egypt and the USA, the release of...
Okay, yeah, Bill says you just saw that elevator incident, escalator. Wasn't it something? Okay, it's like he's not used to walking up some stairs. Well, for one, he's not in great shape, as I talked about earlier. He's pushing 80. Um, he's got heart failure going on and other issues, health issues. He had a couple of strokes. I forgot to mention about the strokes that he had, which they're covering up. Okay, so that's why he didn't. He waited for a minute to be able to climb them stairs. That's for. I mean, for that escalator to get back functional. So I don't know. Let's wait and see what happens. I don't want to see anybody collapse on camera. I don't care if it's Trump or whoever, but some are speculating that we are going to witness that. Bill says somebody totally did that passive aggressive action against him. I'm almost in agreement with you, Bill. I kind of, I mean, for that to jump off and then the teleprompter not to work also, no, I don't think that's just a coincidence. There are some people, the United Nations is laughing at Trump. They are laughing, and I've heard counts of them laughing at that, and he's pissed off a lot of people there. During his speeches in the United Nations, every time he stepped to the podium over the past several years, they were laughing at that, and the media covers it up with overdubs and everything. So, Bill says we people have responsibility. People have small powers that are not always clear. And you know what? I'm making a little post about that too that I'm gonna complete, Bill, a little later on. But anyway, we're going a little bit past our showtime here. If there's anybody else that want to speak up, forever hold your peace. But we're about to take it to the end of the stage, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I love you. Take care. We out. Tin Man is gone.